Feedback Learning. English forever.
English and its importance around the world. Today, on this week's edition of Feedback LearnX, let's take a look at 8 questions that, when answered, will tell us a little more about English and its importance around the world. Let's get started. Why is it important to learn English? The correct question you should be asking yourself is why not learn English? It is important to know that English is currently the most important language in the world, not only because it is the language spoken by great powers such as the United States or England, but it is a language that we have culturally adapted to do business, and more importantly, the internet was created in English. Despite not being the most widely spoken in the world, since it is Mandarin, it is a language that has almost twice as many speakers as a second language, which can give us an idea of its great importance. What is the origin of the English language? The English language originates from the Germanic invasions of Britain, now known as the United Kingdom, which began more than 2,000 years ago. The Germans came from the territories that today make up Germany, Denmark, and the Netherlands. English, like any language, is a kind of living being that grows, adapts, and evolves along with mankind. Currently, these changes are even faster and more drastic due to the appearance of new technologies, such as the radio, television, and the internet. However, what we know today as modern English has existed since 1755. This event is marked by the publication of the English Dictionary, a dictionary of the English language by Samuel Johnson. Which countries speak English as their first language and which English as their official language? Knowing which countries are English as a first language is not as easy as it might seem. There are countries where English is the official language, but it is not their first language, as is the case with Belize. There are also other cases, such as Australia, where the most widely spoken language is English, but Australia does not really have an official language. If we consider all the countries where English is the first language and English as the official or national language, we find a total of 57 distributed by continent as follows: 3 in Europe, 14 in America, 5 in Asia, 12 in Africa, and 14 in Oceania. Which countries speak English in Europe? Despite being the cradle of the English language, there are only 3 of the 49 countries on the European continent where English is the official language: United Kingdom, Ireland, and Malta. Although it may seem strange to find Malta on this list, the explanation is simple. After Napoleon's defeat in 1814, France was able to regain several of the colonies that it lost during the war, with the exception of this country. Malta was preserved by the British government since it had a strategic geographical location as a part of a call to India. Malta was the headquarters of the Royal Navy of the United Kingdom until 1930. Which countries speak English in America? When we think about which English-speaking countries are in America, we tend to automatically think of the United States and Canada. But the truth is that we are very wrong if we believe that only Spanish is spoken in the rest of the countries. We would be leaving out 12 countries where English is also spoken, either because it is the official language or because it is the national language. The list of countries in America is as follows: Antigua and Barbuda, Bahamas, Barbados, Belize, Canada, United States, Grenada, Guyana, Jamaica, Dominican Republic, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, Trinidad and Tobago. Which countries speak English in Africa? Around 2,000 different languages and dialects are considered to be spoken on the African continent. Despite this, we cannot forget that the British Empire spent several years conquering and colonizing much of this continent. That is why there are currently 21 of the 54 countries where English is preserved as a national or official language. The countries are Botswana, Cameroon, the Gambia, Ghana, Kenya, Lesotho, Liberia, Malawi, Mauritius, Nigeria, Rwanda, Seychelles, Sierra Leone, Swaziland, South Africa, Sudan, South Sudan, Tanzania, Uganda, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. Which countries speak English in Asia and Oceania? On the Asian continent, it may seem strange to find countries that also speak English. We have the case of India, which also belonged to the British Empire in the mid-1800s. For this reason, despite Hindu being its official language, there is a large part of the population that speaks English almost as a first language. The list of these two continents is as follows: Philippines, India, Malaysia, Pakistan, Singapore, Australia, Fiji, Marshall Island, Solomon Island, Kiribati, Micronesia, Nauru, New Zealand, Palau, Papua New Guinea, Samoa, Tonga, Tuvalu, and Vanuatu. How many people speak English in the world? So in the end, how many people speak English in the world? David Crystal estimates in his book, English Worldwide, that there are approximately 400 million people who speak it natively, 400 million people who speak it as a second language, and around 600 million foreigners who speak it as a second language. This gives us more than 1 billion English-speaking people in the entire world, considering that it is a figure that must have increased in the last decade. So as you can see, English isn't just a language exclusive to countries where it is their first or dominant language, but instead, it is a language important and necessary coast to coast and around the globe. We hope you found in this week's Feedback LearnX edition useful information and motivation to continue your learning of becoming an English interpreter, or a larger understanding as to why it is necessary to take that next step if you haven't already.
Feedback Learning, English Forever. Estamos en sintonía. Feedback Learning, English Forever. English Forever.